Welcome to FSR, Free Spirit Radio, The Light Hunters.
Where the rose-black lotus grows, under the moonlight the wild wind blows, not to a crown, not to a name. I pledge my heart to the living flame.
Chapter 5, Act 12. Beneath the Pont d'Arc. The sky, still hued with a deep blue, was slowly lightening as we reached the summit of our observation point near Vallon-Pont d'Arc. The night had been cold, but the promise of the sunrise was already warming our spirits. Pierre, Kinikou, and I were enveloped in the sacred silence of nature awakening, broken only by the rustling of leaves beneath our steps. We settled on a promontory overlooking the mountains, ready to practice Surya Yoga. As the sun began to timidly peek over the horizon, I invited my companions to sit cross-legged, facing the emerging star. The reddish light gradually flooded the sky, blending shades of orange and gold in a sublime display. "Observe this light," I said softly, breaking the silence. "Imagine it entering your being, warming your body, and awakening your soul. Become one with this light." We remained in meditation, breathing slowly, absorbing the vibrant energy of the rising sun. After an hour of deep silence and communion, I signaled to my companions that it was time to descend. Our next stop was the beach beneath the Pont d'Arc, where we planned to have breakfast. When we arrived at the beach, the scene was equally magnificent. The waters of the Ardèche flowed gently, reflecting the warm hues of morning, while the majestic arch dominated the landscape, timeless and imposing. We unpacked our belongings, preparing a simple yet nourishing breakfast. Before eating, I sat cross-legged and brought my hands together in front of me. Pierre and Kinikou, intrigued, watched me attentively.
私はお命をいただきます。
I said solemnly. I turned to them to explain. This Japanese phrase means, I take life, I receive life, and I honor life. Every time we eat, even as vegans, we take life. Every carrot, every lettuce leaf, every fruit we consume was alive. But in return, we receive that life within us, enabling us to act, create, and serve. Kinikou nodded, moved by the words, while Pierre seemed deep in thought. I continued. This process, however, is not insignificant. In taking life, we must honor this gift. What we eat, what we breathe, what we drink, all of it is sacred fuel offered by Pachamama, Mother Earth. It is up to us to use this energy to accomplish something meaningful, whether great or small. After a respectful silence, I resumed speaking. Light, like energy, is everywhere. But what we see is not the light itself, but its reflection on matter. Look at the night sky, for instance. It is full of light, but it remains invisible unless it finds an object like the moon to reflect it. In the same way, energy and life exist everywhere, but they need mediums to manifest. Pierre, ever curious, asked a question.
And the colors we see, like those in a rainbow, Do they also come from this reflection?
I smiled, pleased by his interest. Not exactly. The colors we see can be of two types, subtractive and additive. I picked up a stick to draw simple diagrams in the sand. Subtractive colors work through absorption. For example, if you see a blue object, it's because the object absorbs red and yellow colors, leaving only blue to bounce back to your eyes. But these colors, when mixed, produce darker shades, ranging from khaki green to black. I paused, giving them time to process my words. Additive colors, on the other hand, combine to produce white light. This is what we see in a rainbow or through a prism. These colors are not blocked, but merge to create brightness. They represent union and integration, unlike subtractive colors, which divide and retain. I then explained how these two types of colors reflect the forces of yin and yang. Subtractive colors are like yin. They absorb, retain, and conceal. Additive colors are like yang. They diffuse, illuminate, and reveal. Everything in life operates on these opposing yet complementary principles. The balance between the two allows us to perceive and understand the world in all its complexity. Kinniku nodded slowly, fascinated.
I've never thought about it that way,
She murmured. Pierre added thoughtfully,
It's amazing how light and energy can serve as such powerful metaphors for understanding life.
I smiled, pleased with their reactions. As we finished our breakfast, I felt that this moment of sharing, teaching, and communion with nature was exactly what we needed. But the day was far from over, and I knew that new experiences awaited us. Sitting on the sand with the Ardèche flowing peacefully at our feet, I continued my teaching. Humankind, obsessed with matter, power, and possession, acts like subtractive colors. It absorbs everything around it, destroying balance, and ends up darkened, lost in a shadow it creates itself. Conversely, those who serve, help, protect, and honor life act like additive colors. They illuminate the world, adding their light to that of others to create even greater brightness. Kinniku and Pierre watched me intently, absorbing my words as if they were a source of inspiration. And yet, I continued, we must also know how to be invisible, to disappear into the shadows, like light that becomes unseen in the dimness. Even in invisibility, we still act for the light, to motivate and protect those who need it. After these reflections, a spark of madness flickered in my mind. I suddenly stood up, clapping my hands to get their attention. Come on, Kinniku, let's climb the Pont d'Arc. Let's find a way to the top. Pierre, startled, looked at us with wide eyes.
You're both completely mad.
Kinniku burst out laughing and turned to him, her eyes shining with excitement.
Pierre, I adore E.G. so much, and I trust him completely. He's so extraordinary that I would follow him anywhere. If he says I can do it, I know I will succeed.
Her confidence moved me deeply. I gave her a nod, and we set off. The path was arduous, challenging, lined with slippery rocks and steep edges. Every step required meticulous attention, but Kinniku followed me with determination, her trust in me serving as a guiding thread. When we finally reached the summit, the landscape before us took our breath away. The majestic arch seemed to float above the water, and the infinite horizon bathed in golden light. Pierre, still on the beach below, waved wildly, shouting at the top of his lungs,
Oh, wow! You're both completely insane, but please be careful. I'm begging you.
Kinniku responded with a big wave, her laughter echoing in the wind. We sat for a moment at the summit in silence, contemplating this natural beauty. The moment was imbued with rare serenity and perfect harmony between us and nature. As we carefully made our way down, Kinniku drew closer to me. Her fingers sought mine, and she took my hand. Squeezing it firmly. In that gesture, I felt deep trust, but also a tender, quiet love. When our eyes met, hers shone with a light that seemed to transcend words. My heart tightened. This love, as pure as it was, remained an enigma. We were bound by an invisible force, but the boundaries of our roles and our lives made this attachment both beautiful and impossible. Yet, in that moment, I didn't want to break anything. We finally arrived back at the beach, where Pierre was waiting, seated on the sand, a spark of inspiration in his eyes. Pierre leapt to his feet as we approached.
"I've got it,"
he exclaimed.
"I've found the perfect name for the guild you'll be the heroes of in my book. You'll be the shadow walkers, those who walk in the shadows, invisible but present, like ninjas, like silent protectors."
Kinniku burst into laughter, her eyes sparkling.
The Shadow Walkers. I love it. It sounds mysterious and powerful.
Pierre nodded enthusiastically.
"You inspire me so much, especially you, Iji. But you too, Kinniku, with your absolute trust, your determination, and your spectacular transformation, your vibrant living characters."
Kinniku bowed respectfully, her face radiant with a bright smile.
What I'm learning every day is changing me deeply, and I owe it all to you, Iji. You've transformed my life, and I will always be grateful to you.
Her sincere, grateful gaze touched me deeply. The beach seemed to fill with a softer light, as if nature itself were celebrating this moment. The sun was gently sinking over the Ardèche, casting golden light across the surface of the river. The shouts of children playing ball, the laughter of families, and the fluttering of bird wings created a vibrant symphony of life. On the beach, warm grains of sand slipped between Kinniku's bare toes as she watched the flow of the water in silence. Beside her, I sat cross-legged, upright like a spear, while Pierre, more relaxed, twirled a small twig between his fingers, his gaze sharp behind his glasses. Suddenly, I turned to Pierre, my voice calm yet carrying a strange weight. "Why not simply tell the truth?" Pierre blinked, slightly startled, then looked up at me.
"What do you mean? You want to talk about the guild, the real guild?"
Kinniku's eyes went wide, startled.
What? You know about the White Lotus Guild?
Pierre turned to me, frowning slightly.
"Wait, Kinniku knows about the White Lotus Guild."
I answered serenely but firmly. Yes, not long ago, during an extraordinarily intense session, I began to reveal everything to her. I told her, clearly and without embellishment, what the White Lotus Guild truly is. I paused, letting the wind carry a moment of silence before speaking again with quiet strength. And so I come back to my point. Why invent a fake guild to frame it all as a romantic tale when we could just present the truth, raw, real, powerful? Why not speak directly and authentically of the White Lotus Guild? Pierre crossed his arms and slowly turned toward Kiniku. A familiar old fire flickered in his eyes.
You know, Kiniku, the White Lotus Guild isn't a secret society reserved for martial arts masters. It's a calling, a commitment. It welcomes anyone who is truly ready to rise, to act, to give themselves fully so that this rotting world might rediscover a breath of beauty, of justice, of poetry.
He took a deep breath, then added with tender humor,
I'm not a martial arts master, as you can clearly see. I don't do somersaults or unleash battle cries. I'm a writer, still barely known, but I know I'll become one. And I want my work, my ink, my words to serve this cause. Consciousness, awakening, love for the truth.
Then he turned again to me, eyes burning with conviction.
As for you, E.G., I get it now. You want me to stop hiding behind fiction, to step out of the shadows. You want me to tell the story of the Guild, not just any story, but a real one, alive, embodied. I'm ready to do it, even if it shakes everything up. I'm ready to write a true story, perhaps poetic, but grounded in the reality of the White Lotus Guild.
Kiniku spoke softly, almost whispering.
Could you, both of you, tell me more about the White Lotus Guild?
There was a pause. Pierre turned to me, hesitating slightly.
Am I even allowed to tell her, at her level?
I nodded slowly. She's an apprentice, just beginning. But she has the soul, she has the fire. I already told her the oath during a deep meditation by the River Dunière. It was a sacred moment, one of those where the soul opens completely, without armor. I sat up straighter and looked into Pierre's eyes. If you remember it by heart, maybe now's the time to speak it aloud once more, so she can truly hear it, so it can resonate in her heart and bones. Pierre nodded, his gaze falling gently on Kiniku.
Then, since you want to hear it, here is the oath of the White Lotus Guild. Where the rose bled, the lotus blooms. I vow with breath unshaken, with eyes wide open, not to a flag, not to a crown, but to the living flame within. I vow, as Sophie did with a whisper that shook empires, as Hans did, with truth sharper than blades, where they stood, with death before them. I stand with their memory behind me. I do not kneel before the world. I rise within it, silent as a shadow, clear as crystal, burning with a fire that asks for nothing, but gives everything. I vow to walk the unseen path, to speak when silence is poison, to be strong where others fold, and soft where others harden. Let my body be trained, my mind unclouded, my heart untamed. Let me not seek comfort but meaning, not followers but brothers and sisters. I will not sell truth. I will not wear masks. I will not protect lies. I choose clarity over confusion, honor over gain, love over fear, dignity over compromise. I pledge to the animals who cannot speak, to the forests that bleed in silence, to the children born into shadows, to the elders forgotten in dust. I am the voice they lost. I am the fire they still carry. I am the white lotus rising. I am one and I am many. Where one lotus stands, the world remembers what it means to be pure, to be free, to be human. And so I vow, until my last breath, until my last word, until my last step, I will be the truth no tyrant can crush. I will be the light no darkness can drown. I will be the white lotus.
Pierre finished the last words of the oath and let the silence settle like a feather falling through dusk. Then he lifted his gaze, his voice soft but certain.
That was one vow, one path of words carved through time. But there are others. Some choose to speak a different oath, no less true, no less powerful. And you, Kiniku, when the moment comes, you'll choose the one that speaks to your soul.
He glanced at me with a knowing smile, then turned back to Kiniku.
There's another vow, one that Iji knows well, but perhaps you haven't heard it yet. Listen closely. This one walks a slightly different road, but it carries the same light. The oath of the White Lotus, a pledge of honor, clarity, and sacred defiance. I step forward freely, not by fear, nor by force, but by a call. A voice that rises from the depths of my being, telling me that truth must be lived, even when the world forgets. I remember the White Rose. I remember Hans and Sophie Scholl, who stood against tyranny, with nothing but truth and courage. I remember that words can be weapons of light, and silence can be betrayal. I vow to speak clearly, to act with honor, to live with dignity, to protect the vulnerable, animal, human, and planet alike. I reject all manipulation. I reject decay, passivity, and cowardice. I will not follow a world that rushes toward its own destruction. I will walk another path, even if I walk it alone, but I know I am not alone. I join the White Lotus, not as a follower, but as a flame among flames, a brother, a sister, a force of change. I bring my piece of the objective truth, and I open myself to the objective truth brought by the others. Together we become clarity in a world of confusion. We become light in a time of shadow. We become strength, not to dominate, but to protect. I choose love as my compass, clarity as my weapon, silence only when it is sacred, never when it becomes complicity. I swear by the truth in my heart, by the strength of my body, by the fire of my soul, I will honor this path. I will rise when I fall, and I will live, so that the White Lotus may bloom wherever I stand.
Kiniku looked at Pierre, her heart fluttering.
Wow, this is beautiful.
She whispered, breathless.
It's inspiring. It's more than just words. It's a call to protect the vulnerable, to live with dignity, to speak with clarity, to remember the white rose and to rise when the world tells us to kneel, because we are free and our freedom has meaning, because we choose to care for the animals, for the earth, for each other.
She smiled, feeling something bloom inside her.
It's fantastic, truly.
Pierre's eyes sparkled with quiet joy.
I'm glad you felt it that way,
He said.
This vow touches the bones of who we are.
Then he leaned slightly closer, voice gentle but sure.
If you like the oath, would you like to hear the prayer too?
She nodded.
We don't speak it often aloud. It's something we whisper in solitude, when doubt clouds the heart or the fire within dims. A reminder, just for ourselves, of why we walk this path.
And Pierre began, his voice weaving through the air like a thread of wind.
O you, living presence, who dwells within and beyond me, source of honor, truth, beauty, peace and power, I stand before you, naked, free, and burning to become light. I am neither slave nor master. I am a brother, a sister, a spark of awareness, chosen to live with intensity and righteousness. May my life become a song of nobility. May my actions be clear, my heart as pure as crystal, my mind as radiant as the sun, my soul as vast as the universe, and my spirit as powerful as God and one with God. I do not submit to fears, nor ugliness, nor lies. I reject the invisible chains of the decaying society. I refuse to kill in order to live, to lie in order to shine, to betray myself to be accepted. I honor the heroes, Sophie and Hans Scholl, the righteous and the silent ones. I honor the invisible ones who watch in the shadows, and I too humbly walk in their quiet footsteps, through the strength of plants, through the tenderness of Tantra, through the sacred dance of Panurithmy, through the art of gestures and silences. I rise, not to dominate, but to love more greatly. I protect life. I refuse the sacrifice of the innocent. I cultivate in my body the sacred fire, and in my mind the peace of the sheathed sword. I'm the sentinel of the living, protector of nature. May I remember with every breath that my life is not mine. It is offering. It is service. It is a path. O presence, guide my steps. Bathe my voice in truth. Turn my tears into an ocean of compassion, and my anger into a volcano that gives life. May the white lotus bloom within me, in my speech, in my silences, in my choices. And if one day I fall, remind me of the brilliance of my mission. Lift me up, straighten me, breathe into me again the momentum of the just. For I was born to shine, not out of pride, but so that love may become law, and light may reclaim its place upon the earth. So be it. So it is done. So I live.
Kiniku's eyes shone brightly as she spoke softly but firmly.
Everything I've heard tonight about the White Lotus Guild perfectly aligns with the true teachings of Tantra. It's magnificent, and I can solemnly promise I will dive deeply into this guild. Not to replace Tantra, but to strengthen the beautiful path of love I've started to share with you.
She smiled through her words, her voice filled with wonder. But even as she spoke, something stirred deeper within her, a warmth, a weight, a quiet ache. Her smile trembled. Her eyes shimmered, and before she could stop it, tears began to rise. She lowered her gaze, a hand brushing lightly across her cheek. Then the first sob came, small, soft, unsteady. She wasn't sure why she was crying, only that something had reached her, deeply, quietly, and she couldn't hold it back anymore. Kiniku, Kiniku, don't cry, my love. There is nothing sad.
I am not sad, my little Tantra love. You know, Iji, this is so beautiful. It's touching so deeply my heart that these are tears of joy. This intensity of care and protection reminds me so much the love and care of Tantra that I try to teach you.
Pierre turned to me with an amused, intrigued smile.
Oh, really? So you've begun studying Tantra with Kiniku? That must be a more than fascinating and luminous journey.
I smiled at both of them, my voice calm and full of warmth. It is a wonderful initiation, and with Kiniku's attention, her tenderness, and her loving heart, this path becomes something even more sacred. It's a spiral of mutual learning. And yes, it resonates with the deepest teachings of the White Lotus Guild. It's not two paths, it's one fire, with different flames. For a moment, silence embraced us. The sky was glowing deep hues of crimson and violet. Around us, the beach slowly emptied. Laughter faded into the evening. Somewhere nearby, the soft sound of a guitar drifted like a dream on the breeze. A child cried out and was gently hushed by a parent's voice. Pierre sighed, stretching his legs and brushing sand from his trousers.
All right, my dear philosophers and secret warriors,
He said with a grin.
it may be time to return to the world of the ordinary. Our shadows must remain luminous, even when wrapped in silence.
Kiniku stood, shaking her legs with a smile. Her long hair flowed down her back like a silk waterfall.
Right.
She teased.
Let's go back to the monastery, Sensei, before I get too enchanted by this beach and start preaching White Lotus philosophy to the tourists.
I chuckled, already folding the light cotton blanket we had been sitting on. Pierre helped me, and the three of us moved in sync, guided by an invisible harmony. We gathered a plastic bag filled with fruit cores, water bottles, and one forgotten sandal. No words were needed. Every gesture flowed naturally. Before getting into the car, we stood one last time facing the Pont d'Arc, silhouetted against the stars. A quiet vow passed between us, unspoken but absolute. Then we climbed into the car. I was at the wheel, Kiniku beside me, Pierre in the back seat. The tires crunched softly over the gravel as we pulled away from the parking area. The road wound through the sleeping Ardèche. Trees whispered to the night. Villages flickered past, hushed and dreaming. Inside the car, the mood was light and warm. We joked about the strange tourist we'd seen earlier with a pink inflatable unicorn, talked about our secret mission of spreading beauty without being caught, and even sang a few off-tune lines of an old song that made us all laugh. At one point, Pierre grinned mischievously and said,
Hey, what does a fish say when it swims into a wall?
Kiniku and I looked puzzled.
Damn!
He declared. There was a heartbeat of silence. Then the three of us burst out laughing. The sound bubbling up like spring water, light and ridiculous and perfect. And in that laughter, under the stars of a summer night, three souls, different in age, path and expression, felt united. A poet, a warrior, and a tantric seeker, joined by the same oath, the same sacred fire. The guild had one more spark, and the world was just a little less asleep. As evening fell, we each returned to our homes, tired but soothed by a day rich in emotions and learning. As the shadows of night slowly enveloped the forest around my house, I felt a growing restlessness within me. Recent events, my feelings for Kiniku, and my role as her master swirled in my mind. I went into the forest to meditate, seeking to regain the peace and balance I needed. Surrounded by the rustling leaves and the whisper of the wind, I sat at the base of a great oak tree. The cold, firm earth beneath my feet seemed to remind me of my mission, my role. I had to remain a guide, a light for Kiniku, and never allow my own emotions or desires to disturb this sacred balance. In this peaceful solitude, a resolution came to me. Tomorrow morning at dawn, I would practice a solitary exercise, a deep introspective meditation inspired by Surya Yoga. I needed to recenter myself, purify myself, and regain complete serenity. It would be a moment for myself alone, far from interactions and temptations, a moment to reaffirm my commitment as a sensei. My role was clear, to be a pillar for Kiniku, a source of inspiration and discipline, and nothing more. So, in the silence of the night, I let my mind calm, preparing for this next stage of my journey.
Where the rose-black lotus grows, under the moonlight the wild wind blows, not to a crown, not to a name. I pledge my heart to the living flame. White lotus rising, pure and free, carried by river, by wind, by sea. White lotus rising, I will be the voice of the lost, the light they see. Through the shadows the truth will stay, guiding my heart along the way. No crown I seek, no gold, no fame, only the light of the living flame. White lotus rising, pure and free, carried by river, by wind, by sea. White lotus rising, I will be the voice of the lost, the light they see. I will stand when the night is long, when the light lies alive, be the earth and the skies above. I will walk in the name of love. White lotus rising, pure and free, carried by river, by wind, by sea. White lotus rising, we will be the light no darkness can never see. Where the rose bled, the lotus grows.
than blindness and fright. Yes, we know where we're coming from. Here we come now to turn that back to light. We will be standing by your side until the harm is undone. We will be standing filled with pride, with our faces turned towards the sun. As one. Here we come, burning hearts, guided fire, wise control. Here we come, we don't believe, for we know, oh yes, we know. Decades of darkness, still we can see the light, for we know it belongs to us, to every woman, every man and every child. We will be standing by your side until the harm is undone. We will be standing filled with pride, with our faces turned towards the sun. We are one. Everything rattles, everything roars. There's never peace between the wars. Meanness can win, for he is never late, while the knights have misplaced their keys by mistake. The kids want to run, but their fathers never dared. And today, words like justice, they sound so absurd. Did you ever wonder why the beauty of dignity has left this world? Our hands can open, our hands can close, but our eyes will stay open wide. The sun goes up, the sun goes down, we need to see through all the lies. They want us to believe that there is only fair, but if we light a single flame, then darkness is obliged to disappear. We will be standing by your side until the harm is undone. We will be standing filled with pride, with our faces turned towards the sun. We are one.